Well, ladies and gentlemen, Kamala has gone completely off the rails. Her campaign has reached a boiling point, and she has to visit the southern border because of horrible numbers. Even the New York Times coming out with an article saying that, I mean, she has some bad numbers. She's trying to go to the border to at least help a little bit. I mean, she's losing immigration by minimum 8 to 10 points. We remember Biden's approval rating on immigration was like minus 25, minus 30, something like that. And they know that immigration and the economy are they're the number one and number two issues in the election. And that's why you're seeing CNN, you're seeing the New York Times, you're seeing Quinnipiac all come out with polls basically insinuating that Trump is in the lead. If it's tied in terms of the popular vote, Trump wins with like 312 electoral votes. If that happens, possibly even more, maybe even winning Virginia, you get up to like 325, 326 electoral votes if that does play out. So all these liberal pollsters now are saying Trump is basically leading, and Kamala Harris is forced to, and you can see CNN saying, this is so weak, this is disgusting. Kamala Harris, a few years ago during an interview, made fun of the idea of visiting the border, saying that I've never been to the border, I've never been to Europe, but now she has to go to the border because she's running in an election where she's trying to win over these independent voters, and she has to appear as independent as humanly possible, which is very hard considering what she did in California and what she believed, and models coming out and saying she was the most liberal person in U.S. politics back in 2019. It makes sense being, in California, but now it's a big issue when it comes to trying to run a general election and winning independent white people in the Rust Belt. It is a huge, huge problem. And there are people within her campaign they're like, listen, bitch, you need to go to the border because this is a total mess. And she's just horrible to work with. There's people that just quit. They're like, I can't do it anymore with this woman. She's terrible. And you can see Kamala is announcing a trip to the border amid poor poll numbers, and even her friends at CNN calling her out. She dismissed the wall as ineffective. And remember, they pawned or they scrapped the parts to the wall that would have finished it. But now her anonymous aides are coming out and saying, no, now she supports the wall. So she's endorsed Trump on the wall, but she won't say it publicly. So she's quietly, I wonder what she's going to say, at the southern border. I wonder if anyone's going to ask her about amnesty and why she would be giving amnesty to the 15, 20, maybe 25 million illegals. Trump says it's up to 25 million. He says it's a conservative number. There's probably around 20 to 25 of them. Because remember, it was first reported it was 10 million, but that was a year ago. Now it's a lot more. Is she going to be giving them amnesty? Then what's the point of being tough on illegal immigration if you're going to be giving amnesty to the people that illegally immigrated here? It's because they need to replenish the population that they're going to be losing. They're going to lose electoral votes in California and New York. They have to replenish it with illegals. That's part of the reason they do it. Because Gavin Newsom and how bad he is, they're going to lose about 5 or 6 electoral votes in the 2030 census. And so all of this is so important. And you've got these polls coming out now. Who do you trust more? Immigration, Trump sitting +8. Economy, Trump sitting +7. Crisis that puts the country at risk, Trump is sitting +4. That is by Quinnipiac. That is a very liberal pollster. So this is actually a crazy thing right here. Gallup, tracking record in terms of the national popular vote. Look at their history. 2008, they had Democrat +8. Obama won by 7.2. 2012, they had Democrat +4. Obama won by basically 4. 2016, Dem +3. Hillary won by 2. 2020, Dem +5, Biden won by 4.5. 2024 right now, Republican +3. Now we'll see what that ends up being on election night, but you don't think it would really shift 7 or 8 points in the span of a month and a half. I mean, we're coming close to the election, so even if this does shift to when Gallup releases their last poll, even if it goes to even or maybe even Democrat +1, look at how accurate they've been. Dem +5, +4.5, +3, +2.1, +4, +3.9, Republican +3. Even if this goes down to Republican +1 and the election ends where Kamala wins the popular vote by 0.5, Trump is basically guaranteed to win the election in that scenario. So this Gallup stuff, I didn't realize how close this actually was in terms of predicting the winner. That's really good stuff right there. When you look at it, and now you have CNN coming out, and President Trump leads Kamala by 11 points on the economy. You can see 50% to 39%, and then 11% of the poll, they're saying neither. That is a CNN poll that was taken within the past few days. That came out, I think, yesterday, or that poll came out today, but it was done around 2 or 3 days ago. when it comes to that. We've got new Rasmussen poll reveals the disturbing results of the decade-long dehumanization campaign against Trump by the Democratic Party propaganda machine. 28% of Democrats are quietly rooting for Trump's assassination. And the reason I'm like smiling at that is because we know it's way more than 28%. So we remember when there was the assassination attempt against Trump back in July, and the Democrats came out and they said, no, this is terrible. It's horrible political violence. Well, the recent assassination attempt that happened, I really didn't see any of them doing that. I think they really don't care anymore. Like they hope this dude gets killed. I mean, to be fair to them, honestly, if I'm being honest, a lot of them do think he's genuinely as bad as Hitler. Like they do think that. And so if you think that, then that's the exact reason why it's like you think he's this horrible person, but you would never cheat in 2020. You would never do that, right? You want him to be killed, but you wouldn't. You understand how ridiculous it sounds. But we have to say they would never do anything like that. They would never cheat against Donald Trump, the Fuhrer. But it's 28%. I mean, that's 28% that will admit it. I mean, when you ask them, it's going to look bad on a piece of paper. Do you want Trump secretly to be killed? A lot of them are going to say, no. But that number's way higher than 28%. I mean, come on. With liberals, it's got to be way higher. How about this? We've got New Mexico, a Survey USA poll that has Harris only up by 8. That's a good number out of New Mexico. That's a nice number. You have to figure the number's probably better for Trump in terms of they overestimate Harris in this poll. I would say Trump probably loses New Mexico by 6.5, 7 points. If that's the case, he's looking great nationally. And you're talking about New Mexico being a border state. Trump might have a chance to keep that state close. I don't think he's going to win New Mexico or anything like that, but it is something to note. Hillary Clinton on MAGA supporters. There needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members. So this got me thinking of something funny that I've seen in polling the past few months. Whenever they do the polls of just the general favorability, sometimes they also include Elon Musk in those, but in a few of them, they've included Hillary, and it is so hilarious. It's like Hillary is the new Mitch McConnell. So they'll be like all of them, like Trump will be -5, Kamala will be -3, Schumer will be -13, Hakeem Jeffries will be like +1, Johnson will be like -2. There's everyone, then there's a giant ass gap, then there's Hillary. I mean, Hillary is hated now by most Democrats. I mean, she is like -30 in terms of approval. Like, it's crazy how much in terms of like from the 2016 election and that whole narrative and how she was going to beat him to where we are today with Trump winning the election in 2016, being the nominee 3 different times, and his approval rate. Like, who would have thought that in the year 2024, it is just a random poll. I mean, Hillary's been out, of the public light for a while, but it's funny to see she's like -25 in terms of approval, and Trump was like -7. Trump's like 20 points better. Imagine telling people that in 2016 that was going to be the case. It's pretty crazy. That just got me thinking of it. Of course, she's going to say, oh my God, MAGA supporters are terrible. It's like, honey, you need a new attack line. Nobody cares. I mean, but yeah, this is the stuff that we're really watching. Immigration, economy, Trump leading them, even in a Quinnipiac poll. And this is what the election is all about. Why do you think she's visiting the southern border right now? It already looks bad. They know the optics of it are horrible, but she has to do it. She simply has to do it. She's forced to. She's got no choice. She has no choice, especially with all these polls that have come out and with all of some of the top Democrats admitting that the internals are even worse for her and that Pennsylvania looks extremely hard to win based on internal data. There's problems with Arizona. They really need to focus on North Carolina. I think they're really going for North Carolina. Georgia is going to be very hard for them to win based on recent polling. This is getting to the point where it's looking very good for Trump, and this seems like a total desperation move by Harris to visit the border because it just looks bad. I mean, she said there's no issue at the border. Remember back in 2020, I thought Trump made a really good point during one of his rallies where he said, the border wasn't a major topic in 2020 because he fixed it from 2016 to 2020, meaning the immigration was at an all-time low, and it was, and to be fair, part of that was because of the pandemic kicking off and stuff, and everything got shut down. But still, even before that, it was reaching a record low in terms of the illegal immigration. And you had Democrats with the opposite viewpoint. They were like, we need more. They were like, basically, we need more illegal immigration, or we need more immigration in general, saying that the United States, we don't build walls, it's calling it the Berlin Wall. And obviously they can't do that now, considering that there's 15, 20 million illegals in the country. and she's going to give all of them amnesty, reportedly. So, and then when it comes to crisis that puts the country at risk, I mean, isn't that kind of a ridiculous question considering the Democrats' viewpoint right now? I mean, you've got Democrats signing artillery missiles and sending them to Ukraine to use against Russia. But no. We trust them. Yeah, we trust them not to get us into any more wars. I mean, that was a crazy photo op. If you guys saw that with Zelensky and Josh Shapiro, one of the craziest things I've seen. And people were talking about like the optics of it, how ridiculous it is. What are you doing? But that's the Democrats, and there's no plan to end the war in Ukraine. It's just keep funding Ukraine and keep letting it go on. There's no ending with Democrats if you elect them. That's another reason why Trump should win and I think will win this election when you factor in the war in Ukraine and potentially at least having some type of dialogue to ending it, because Trump's already called Zelensky. He's talked to Putin. Zelensky has Russian territory to use as a bargaining chip. I don't know what the exact negotiation will be, but at least you can start somewhere with Trump, and Trump is engaged to try and end that situation rather than continue to escalating it by signing missiles to be used against Russia. So that's how crazy it is, and that's why, I mean, she's going to the border. It's so desperate. Even liberal media is saying it's just a desperation attempt by Harris to try and, I mean, again, when you talk about +8, I think it's really more than +8 against immigration. You know, do you trust Harris in immigration? That's, you know, yes, I trust her to import more illegals, if that's what you're asking. So then, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, but this is a Quinnipiac poll, and it still has Trump up, and it's got Trump up in the economy. I think this is a bigger discrepancy, though. I think Trump would be up, 12 to 15 on immigration, and then maybe only 6 or 7 on the economy. But they've got it at 8 and 7. And CNN actually does have, to be fair, Trump up 11 on the economy topic. And those are the two most important issues when it comes to the 2020 election, for sure. So guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.